Well, welcome to the Business Spotlight series. My name is Tanner Ryan. I'm a senior partner here at ActionCOACH in Central Texas. And today I am joined by Chris Rockhold, who is the owner of Rockhold Karate. Super excited to be, jumping into some conversation, talking about business, talking about all the fun things that have led into, this process of business ownership, all of that kind of stuff. Really just share kind of a sneak peek into what it's really like to, build and operate different types of businesses here. So Chris, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with me today. If we could, let's just start with just a little bit of background. If you would give, the audience a, I don't know, 10,000 foot view of who you are and tell us a little bit about Rockhold Karate.
Absolutely, Tanner. I appreciate you having me on. So Rockhold Karate started in 2007. Um, I registered with the state of Texas as an LLC and basically just did all the groundwork myself. So it's just go to Google, research how to do all this stuff and, start going from there. My wife suggested I just start teaching out of the garage. So I did private lessons and then I got into the recreation center here in Cedar Park and did that for a year while I developed a business plan and worked on that for a year, building up clients, and then bit the bullet and jumped into the retail sector of things, and it's been going ever since. So I've been in business for 15 years, and I've been doing martial arts for 30. So it's been a wild ride, especially past few years.
I can imagine. Yeah. No, I'm excited to kind of dive into some of that. But before we jump into kind of the journey and the business itself and kind of getting a little bit more, granular into it, I always like to just kind of set the stage for the audience in terms of really what does it look like ownership structure wise. Now, the reason I ask this is I have an opportunity to talk to a whole bunch of different businesses, and how different businesses are structured kind of lends a perspective into the different nuggets of wisdom and information that we're
Right.
going to kind of pull out today. So my question is really this: when you look at your business, how are you set up ownership wise? Are you the sole founder? Do you have business partners? Are there outside
Yeah. So
investors?
I set up as a solo LLC, and the paperwork is pretty simple to do. You can pay the fees and all that, and get up and running. You set up with the IRS. Um, it's as long as you just follow the steps and get everything in place, you're good to go. So the first few years of business, it was in the red, and then you finally get to I was in the last year of where the IRS would consider it a hobby, and I started making money. So it was like, all right, I'm a for real business now.
Love it. So in the business today, what I always like to ask, what role are you currently playing? I know we joked a little bit right before we officially started here that you've got multiple hats that you're wearing in the
Yeah,
business.
yeah.
What are all the hats that you currently play in the
So
business?
I'm the owner, head instructor. I've got a couple other instructors with me in the studio. We've run classes from 5 to 9 to 9:30 on certain days. Um, and it's been an interesting journey because I do everything. So I do the website. I do use Joomla as a platform, and I dived into that early on, and so I just stuck with it. Everybody uses like WordPress and all that. I was like, no, I've already invested this much time and effort into it. But it's pretty diverse platform. I like it. Some people, they hire other people to do it. My background is graphic design, so I save
Hmm.
quite a bit of money from that background. So as far as the marketing goes and everything like that, advertising, graphics, cards, everything. Well, I don't even use business cards anymore. That kind of went away with the technology that we have now.
Yeah,
So
it's interesting, isn't it?
it is.
Uh,
It's fascinating to me. And I started. The funny thing is I started out traditional graphic design, so do the acetone paper and all this other stuff, and then we transferred over to computers. So the old Gen X guy that's just gone through like seen everything, and I try to stay on to technology and ahead of it if I can. I was a little
hmm.
late getting on TikTok, but.
Oh, I
I'm
don't
on
think
there
it's
now.
ever too late. There's
No,
still
right?
so much traffic, so much stuff that's happened on there. It's
I do a lot of data analysis. Google, I look at Google a lot, look at the analytics and kind of see where things are going and stay ahead of it.
hmm.
So,
It's excellent. I'm excited to dive into more specific questions around kind of marketing, different things that you're doing.
mhm.
But before we jump into kind of those types of things, I want to talk a little bit more about your background. So you said 30 years doing martial arts, is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
What led you to it? Like what kind of give me the journey in the last 30 years of just being in this industry, being in this world of I don't know, athletics or however
Yeah,
you
you could say
this
sports,
practice.
athletics, martial art,
Yeah.
it covers a lot of areas. Like my parents, they put me in Taekwondo in middle school, and I did it for about a year, year and a half, and then didn't like it. Maybe it was probably because of the instructor, but and then high school, you get busy doing all kinds of stuff there. And then after high school, I was like, I want to do something. I want to get back into it. So when I started college, I found Tang Soo Do is the particular style I am a student in and teach now, and been doing that since '93. So it's it's been cool. We've had ups and downs, like anything you do, it's always been there in the background, and now it's in the foreground. So I was going to school for graphic design and doing that, and then after 9/11 happened, I was up in DC when that happened. The economy tanked, and I did lost my job in graphic design and did some odd jobs here and there. And then finally, we moved back to Texas. And my wife's like, "Why don't you just start teaching and doing that?" I was like, "That's a good idea." But I'd done a lot of freelance design, so running my own business was something I've always done. It just wasn't my primary; it was a secondary stream of income for
Mm.
me. So getting into that. But along the way, I became an instructor, a certified instructor, and then at that point, around 2007 is when I started my own business, and then broke off from an organization that I was in, and it's been quite a journey. I became a master instructor. I'm also a sword instructor, so there's a group out of Korea. I'm the state representative for Texas, and then I'm also a certified USA archery coach. So yeah, so the sword group, they do traditional Korean archery, and that got me inspired. I did that as a kid and reignited my passion for archery. And but they didn't have any kind of traditional Korean archery here in the States, so I found USA Archery and found an amazing coach up in Dallas. And she's a doctorate in kinesiology, so we had lots of conversations about body mechanics and martial
Oh, that's
arts and
cool.
archery and how the similarities. It's been great. So
That's
I have
awesome.
different three avenues of business within the studio, because there was no archery place around here. So I decided to create. I don't know if you can see the targets in the background. So it's
That's
been a crazy wild journey, and I don't fit the normal mold for a lot of the martial arts in the industry. So the industry it's good and bad. There's a lot of interesting things, and just like any industry, you have your good people you want to be around, and other people you just want to avoid.
Sure. Yeah,
So,
you're right. I think that's probably true of most industries and things like that out there. So tell me a little bit more about the business. About I always like to ask, who primarily does your business serve, right? And so the best way that I like to kind of frame this up is if I'm in the audience and I'm watching this, I'm listening to this, later on, how would I know that I'm a good fit, or how do I know, or that I might know somebody who's a good fit to come in and work with y'all, who might be interested? Kind of give us the context of what that looks like for your business.
I started out with just ages 7 and up, so 7 to teens to adults. Um, when I first got going, and then later on, I developed a little kids program, kind of as a feeder to go into the older program. So ages 5 to 7 now. I did some modifications recently to it, and you're always adjusting your plans. Like when I created the plan, you have to keep adjusting, as things come up, you got to pivot. You got to go, okay, didn't see that coming. You try to plan for everything. So I did 3 different lines of planning. I said worst case scenario, best case scenario, and probably the realistic when I was doing the business plan of how things would go. And that's been pretty good for me. And when I started, it was in the middle of the housing recession. So the
Mm.
economy was just wrecked. And I was like, if I can do well during this time, so when the economy is better, I'll be fine. And it's held true. And then, rode out the pandemic. I saw
Mm.
that coming and adapted to Zoom real quick. So we took our classes online, and that was crazy.
I'm curious, what did that look like?
So you know how Zoom, you can have a bunch of people online. So when we went into lockdown, I was here at the studio setting up. I had my mic, and then had a whole grid of my students in front of me. So I would disable their mics unless they had a question. Then we set up how to do that, and we'd walk through stuff online. It was an interesting, surreal experience to say the least, but it got me through. And so, but I knew some other owners, other business owners in martial arts, that they didn't adapt quickly, and they lost their businesses, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things, it's unfortunate. But as a small business owner, you have to be very disciplined on your finances. You have to be, watching the trends. You're watching other things. Like the pandemic was not in my business plan. I had flood, fire, all these other things,
Yeah.
just in case that happens, like, what do you do? That was not on the list. Now it's on the list. I went in back through and said, okay, here's in my plan now.
Mm.
Crazy things you have to do to keep going in this business. I mean, the first 5 years is the most critical, is what everyone tells you. When I
Oh.
first got set up to do my business plan, I contacted the SCORE group, and they had different mentors and things like
Mhm.
that. And so I just used a free template from them, got some ideas, and just ran with it. So it's been quite a journey. And yeah, and then technology keeps changing too. So you just utilize what you can and adapt with it. I'm glad I'm not teaching on Zoom anymore. It's a lot easier in person.
I can
But
imagine,
I
yeah.
made it work.
Just the complexity of helping coach cues on body mechanics, things like that, virtually versus in
Yeah.
person.
No, I would
I've
have
got
to get on screen and go, turn this way, and then I'd have to turn this way, and then turn. I'd have to try to get the students to do the same thing, to work 3-dimensionally on a 2D format.
mm,
It
yeah, man.
was a challenge, but
So when
we did it.
yeah, when you look at your business today, what does the competitive landscape look like here in just Central Texas in general, but especially the Cedar Park area that you mentioned that you're in currently?
Yeah, yeah.
Kind of what does that look like? What makes your business different in the sense of why do your clients work with you, and as opposed to kind of the other styles that are out there, the other
Yeah, I'm
competitors,
surrounded.
that sort of thing.
Yeah, I'm surrounded by competitors. I've got one, like, I don't know, 2 blocks down the street. And then there's another less than half a mile, and there's another, just they're all around me. A lot of wasn't there before, but as the city's grown, and Central Texas has been a huge magnet for people coming here, the city has just exploded. Both, Cedar Park, Leander. That's my target markets, is those 2 zip codes. So everybody around me. I think the main thing for what I've been told, and I survey my customers, is customer service. Like, I get a phone call, I answer it, and I answer it in an upbeat manner. I try to do positive. I mean, when I was in college, I worked for Target retail, and they were into the whole guest service, which was basically come from Disney, the whole
Hmm.
experience and all that. And that was part of it. In doing that, I think really has made it amazing for my business, because I have people tell me like, yeah, they didn't even answer the phone. Like, what? I don't understand. Or if I get an email, I reply back pretty quick. If I get a text, I reply back. I get stuff through Google, I answer back. They walk in the door, I greet them, and in a cheerful manner. Not, hey, what are you doing here? It's like, hey, how's it going? What can I do for you? It's what you put out there is what's going to come back. So I think that has been a big key, and keeping the facility nice and clean, and smelling good. I can't tell you how many of the moms have told me like, it smells so good in here. I was like, yeah, there's a reason. I've been in other gyms before. You walk in the door, you're like, oh.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's
Um,
so it's all about presentation and customer service. I think that's been my big advantage. The
nice.
industry, there's a lot of different. Some of them don't put their prices out there. I put my prices out there as far as the service goes. I'm transparent. I'm not playing these games. It's some of them operate like used car dealers, but that's their model. That's fine. I don't operate that way. I don't feel that's genuine to the customer. They come in, they try out the class, they like it, they have a good experience. And that's the thing is, if they're looking to improve their health, if they're looking to defend themselves, or they just want to do martial arts because they've always seen the movies or TV and they're like, yeah, I think this would be fun. And the reasons change too. Like when I first started, my reasons have completely changed. I went from being a student to being a teacher. And now my big thing is watching my students get that light bulb moment where they're like, they make those
Mm,
connections to do what you're teaching and the concepts. And that's the best thing for me, is watching them succeed.
that's
So
fun. That is
it's
fun.
I think that's the key, is you're bringing that energy, that positivity, things like that.
Mm. So I just love to ask questions around marketing. I know we kind of touched on it a little bit, but I want to dive in a little bit deeper. Marketing. The reason I like to touch on it the most is, it's an area that's vital to every business. We need marketing
Yeah,
to bring in, new business, but it's often an area that is, especially in the small business arena, business owners, unless they have a big background in marketing, it's an area that we can kind of stumble upon a little bit.
right.
So I'm curious with what's been your philosophy to marketing? How do you generate conversations out there to generate some interest? What have you found to work for your business?
Google has been my best friend for a long time. Like when I first started, a lot of people were like, you got to be in the phone book, you got to do business cards, you got to do flyers. And the internet was early on, and Google, I was like, let me put listings out, because I've always been a big tech dork. So in computers, everything. So I was like, this is the direction things are going, and got a website up and running. And that has been the number one thing, is being in the top spots if you can, as much as you can. There's a lot of tricks to that. And I got to stay up on what Google changes all the time. And you know snooze you lose kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, any of the platforms that come out, like I started YouTube 10 years ago, and I didn't really know what to do with it, and I kept having parents ask me about, do you have videos on, or what videos can I watch for things that we're doing in here? And I was like, I need to start doing that. So I started doing how-to videos, like how
Mm,
to tie the karate belt, how to do this, and all these different things. And that the beginning of the year, I just got the channel monetized, but I've only been pushing the channel for like a couple of years. So it's just another avenue of advertising. Um, got on LinkedIn, started making that site look good as the business and as a personal. And Facebook, I get a good percentage coming through there, at least awareness of the
mhm.
business through Facebook. And face to face, I'm walking around with my, my own stuff. Oh, you do karate? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Have you done it before? Or are you interested in it? I just conversations that happen. Just let it fly.
Love it.
See how it goes.
If you had unless you know it specifically, I'm curious, with Google being kind of your best friend for a while, what percentage of new business comes from the source of Google or even Google as a aggregate, including YouTube, that sort of thing?
I would
Um,
say, yeah, Google, people hit Google Maps or they type in martial arts in my area, martial arts Cedar Park or karate Cedar Park. There's a lot of things that I see in the data, and I'd probably say about 90%. Um, I have walk-ins. People just drive by the street. I have a big bright red karate sign on the building, and I made it bigger than some of the normal ones around here, so it stood out. And I happen to be in the middle, and it's got the decorative part of the building, so it kind of is like right there on Lakeline, so you can't miss it. People are like, oh yeah, I drive by this place all the time. I was like, yeah,
nice.
that's me. And they come in, and I greet them at the door. That's the main thing. As soon as they walk in the door, you acknowledge them and take care of them. I'm
Hmm.
still running the classes, but it makes people feel welcome, and that makes an impression. I've heard of stories of other people just ignoring them, or nobody was there to help them, or not answering the phone. That was a big one. But the
Hmm.
phone call, I still get a lot of phone calls, surprisingly, and emails. I have a forum on the website so that people can contact that way. So I try to make it as accessible as possible, with all the different things that we have available. So it is a full-time job doing all that too,
Hmm. Oh yeah.
along with teaching and all that. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, that's the acquisition process in general. From start to finish, that is definitely a big part of business. Now, if I recall, you had mentioned something about knowing some of the financial numbers and being disciplined with some of that. I'm curious if you can kind of expand a little bit on what you've learned as a business owner in the importance of knowing some of the numbers in the finance side of the business and being able to stay on top of some of that.
The biggest hurdle was getting financing. But at the time, I was like, "Hey, I'm going to start a business during recession." Banks weren't lending, and then these alternative, weird little financial institutions, and they weren't even doing it. So I cashed out a $2,000 worth of stock and just went in. And it was just, I had done my business plan, and I set up all the financials in that, and it had, okay, here's the rent, here's everything that you needed. And it was like, this gets paid. If I don't take a paycheck right now, that's fine. But I only need this. I need flooring, and that was it. And that was a lease to own kind of thing. So there's things out there, other businesses out there to help you get started in this industry. So that was a good thing. So this is the flooring behind me that I originally got.
Mm,
So it's about 13 years old. So, and it's in good shape. We're gonna take care of it. But that you see different equipment, you're like, ooh, I want to get that. Is it in my budget? And sometimes it was no. And so I was like, I'll wait. Or I would do a seminar or a workshop and go, okay, maybe now I can do it or not. And it was just one of those things you had to have early on in your business. If you don't have that fiscal discipline, you're going to shoot yourself in the foot. And I think that's really when the statistics are out there about businesses fail within the first 5 years. And I think that's a factor is they're like, hey, I want to spend all this money on setup, and then they're out of money to operate, and they're out of money to market. Like I run Google ads. So I have a dedicated budget to that once a month. There's an ad that's running on Google always. And I think that helps with getting people in the door and all that. So, and I've done with Facebook and Instagram. I've experimented with different ones, but the main one has been Google Ads, along
with
with just
being
having a presence on the internet. So,
with being so into Google Ads and having something run that consistently, What return on investment are you getting on a monthly basis?
Um, I'm getting a pretty good turnaround actually. I'm spending about actually 150 bucks, which is not much, but one student in the door pays for it. So I'm already, and I do more than that a month as far as students coming in the door. So I'm ahead of the game. And that's the thing, when I did my pricing, I did an analysis of all the competitors in the area and what the area would support and price myself, not the highest, but not the lowest, just kind of the middle ground. And I operate on that. And what I'm spending versus what I'm making is one of the highest percentages in the industry. There was a survey that one of the big companies did, Century Martial Arts. They were surveying all these owners, going, "Hey, we're compiling all this data," and I was in the top, 5% as far as what I was spending versus what I was making. And I was excited about that. It's like all this
Fantastic.
discipline is paying off. I'm like, okay, I'm doing
Yeah.
pretty good as far as the industry is concerned. I'm way ahead of a lot of people, and really big schools too, which surprised me. I was like, oh, I thought they were making money hand over fist, but they were just burning, just ahead. So
Yeah.
it's crazy.
That's cool.
It
Well,
is cool. I was excited. I was like, yeah, I just got to maintain that.
yeah, no kidding. So I do want to be respectful of time. So I want to ask just kind of some
Sure.
forward-thinking questions, and we'll get into kind of the rapid fire before we wrap up here.
All right.
When we look at, so we talked a lot about kind of your journey getting into it. We talked about the business itself and kind of where things are at today. I'm curious, as you look to, the next 3 to 5 years, where do you see the business going? Where do you see your role in the business going? Kind of give us a sneak peek into where your business plan is taking you in the next 3 to 5 years.
I want to take more of a step back. I have some other business ventures I'd like to get into, and so I want to have somebody that will be able to do what I'm doing, teaching here, and I can come in and teach certain classes, but I want to be able to hand off that responsibility. I had an instructor before the pandemic, and of course, everything went sideways. I had to let that person go. Unfortunately, it was that or lose the business. So it was like, this is one of those tough decisions as a business owner. You're going to run into that, and you got to do what's best to survive. And at that time, the government wasn't doing what they should have been doing correctly.
Hmm.
So a lot of people really got tanked on that. Luckily, I had built up my savings as well, as you should when you first start. Is you got to build up, I don't know what they say, 6 months worth of operation
Hmm.
is the kind of the standard. So, but had I not, I probably wouldn't be here right now. So,
Yeah,
but I've been
I
recovering from
mean,
that, and my plan is to get another instructor in here and get that operating, and then maybe start another business venture. I've got some book ideas in mind, so maybe go that route. Got some other things going, so it's going to be a fun adventure, and I still love doing this. So this is my passion. I like teaching the classes, but I've gotten with the YouTube channel. I've gotten a lot of more people contacting me internationally and across the United States, going, "Hey, really like your videos." I've had people call me just out of the blue and like, "Hey, I really like your videos." I'm like, "That's cool. I'm glad they helped you." That's kind of why I did them.
yeah, that's
And
fantastic.
so I think I'm gonna, kind of explore that avenue a little bit more. Maybe go places and do seminars and things like that. So I think
Awesome.
that'll happen in the next few years.
That's exciting. I'm excited
Yeah.
to see that continue to go down that path for you. But Chris, we've certainly covered a ton of ground so far in the conversation. So
Okay.
for those that are watching, make sure you go back, save this, whatever it is, to go back and take the nuggets of wisdom, that Chris has
Right.
learned over 15 years of being in business and all that kind of fun stuff. But as we start to wrap up, I've got a couple kind of, we'll call them rapid fire questions, meant to be kind of quick top ahead answers. I know we probably could go
Great.
deep on a couple of these, but four quick questions, and then we'll get into kind of my final question. I love to round out every interview on. So let's get started on these here. First one, Chris, what is your key to success?
Great customer service. that is a big one for me. So
Love it. What is one piece of advice you would give to other business owners?
get a good budget and stick with it. I
Mm,
think that is definitely key to have lasted this long in this industry, and then just the different financial situations that we've witnessed over the past 15 years in my case. It's
mm,
been pretty wild. But yeah, that fiscal discipline, budget, and adjusting it as you need it,
mm.
for sure.
Powerful, powerful with that. What's one book that you are either reading currently or you've read most recently?
I'm about to start stretching scientifically. So this year I turned 50, and so I want to make sure I stay in the best shape possible. And so I stretch a lot, but I want to improve it and stay. Be like, hey, that guy. That's like he's not 50. No way.
I love that. That's fantastic. Kind of final
Looking
rapid fire
forward to reading
question.
that one.
Final rapid fire question. If you had to choose only one area in your entire business that you could magically throw some dust on and it would improve overnight, where would you put that magic dust?
Oh man, that's a hard one. um, if I could get another person to do my job, if I could clone me, that'd be great. But yeah, that's the area I need to work on is how can I transition from being a full-time operator to a part-time one and have somebody else do this so I can do more of the other things I'd like to do. So I think that would be that area for sure.
Love it. It's a great area to be in as you continue to grow a business. So, before we jump into the final question of the day, for those that are watching that want more information, that want to follow you, that want to check out all these amazing YouTube videos and everything else that you're doing out there, where can they go for more information? How can they get in contact with you?
Rockholdkarate.com is my main website, and then YouTube/Rockhold Karate. TikTok has been more of a creative outlet. So if you like the weird, funny stuff, I mean, I use all these different platforms. We're on Facebook, of course, but that one seems to be kind of trending down now. Like I said, you got to stay on these trends and stay ahead of everything. So those are the main platforms. Instagram. So just Rockhold Karate, you'll find me.
Excellent. Well, for those that are watching, I'll be sure to put the website link and a couple links and things like that for the social platforms for the YouTube videos
On LinkedIn, of course.
in the description below. So make sure that you check all that out. Go connect with Chris. Part of this is we want to make sure that we're connecting business owners and creating community here. So please take the time to go do that and check it all out. But as we wrap up, Chris, I'd love to end on this final question, which is simply this: what is most inspiring to you today?
I think when I am able to help my customers have that aha moment and help them succeed in whatever they're working on, and it's those little victories I think that make my day the most. And I try to do that every day. So any time the kids, adults, teenagers, they have all this stuff externally that's going on. I try to create a nice, calm, zen environment for them to just relax, be themselves, and learn something new. And if they, take that knowledge and are able to make that light bulb moment happen, I'm very happy about that. And it's great to see that and watch them succeed and move forward and gain new skills.
Love that. Chris, thank you so much for taking the time
Thank
to
you.
be on this with me today to chat. Tell us a little bit about your story, about your business, about everything that you've got going on there. It's really amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Appreciate it. Thank you.